Hello everyone, welcome to my January 2019 haul video. Welcome back everyone to a brand new haul video. But before I get into all the things I picked up in January of 2019, I just want to say that I am very sorry that I haven't been putting up many videos so far this year. The first 2 months of this year have been rather slow moving for me, rather tumultuous to a certain extent. I was sick towards the end of 2018 and that carried over to 2019. I was sick for most of January, and then once I got over what was ailing me then, I got hit with another ailment right after that, and then recently this month I got hit with yet again another ailment, so things have been pretty slow moving from that regard. And unfortunately towards the end of January, actually January 22nd, my dog unfortunately passed away. It wasn't a big surprise or a huge shock, because he was older, he was sick, dealing with a lot of health problems, but it is still a very emotionally draining experience for me, as many of you probably know if you have experienced a loss like that. So I've been kind of reeling from that ever since, so things have been a little slow moving. The motivation hasn't been quite there to be making his videos as much as I was before. But I am back here now to do another haul video for January. Coming up, there will be a couple of movie reviews, and then things will kind of, progress from there. So, for those of you who are not familiar with this video series that I do on my channel, it is essentially what the title suggests. I just go through a bunch of the things that I pick up in a specific month. They're usually comic book or movie or TV show related, or even book related. Unfortunately, there was not much that I picked up in January. I was still rather reeling financially from the month of December, which of course with the holidays and all the sales and all that type of stuff, I tend to pick up a lot at that time of the year. So first up here is the lone comic book thing I picked up. If you've been watching for the last couple of months, you know I've been picking up the individual issues for this series, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it is Supergirl, written by Mark Andreyko. This is issue number 26. 27 has already come out by the time I've made this video, so it will be included in next month's video as well. You'll be able to get this entire first story arc in a trade paperback very, very soon. Now moving into the Blu-rays and 4Ks that I picked up. First up here is something I've been wanting to get for several years now because it came out several years ago. And this is actually an anime film. This is Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F. And the reason why I've been waiting to pick this up is because anime, for some reason, is very expensive. They hardly ever go down in price or hardly ever are on sale for a decent price. This happened to drop to a price where I was like, okay, I will finally get it, because I'm trying to catch up with the new Dragon Ball series, Dragon Ball Super. I haven't watched any of the episodes yet, but I've watched so far the 2 films that have kind of kick-started off this whole new Dragon Ball series. The first one being Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods, and the second one here being Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, and they've made that into their first 26 episodes. So essentially, I've kind of seen the first 2 story arcs, but in movie form of Dragon Ball Super, so in a way I've seen a little bit of the series. But I've been a Dragon Ball Z fan from the time I was a kid back in the late 90s, watching it on Toonami, on Cartoon Network, and I've collected the show on DVD over the years. If you are familiar with Dragon Ball Z, it has had one of the most odd and eclectic release of its material that I think any show has ever had. They came out with VHS tape, they've come out with multiple DVD editions, they've come out now with Blu-ray editions, and some of them all have kind of problems with it, and I may get into that later on in a video because that's a very long history that I don't have time to go into now. And the next 2 things here are both films by the same director, and that is M. Night Shyamalan. With M. Night Shyamalan's new film Glass coming out in January, they marked down or had his previous films on Blu-ray on sale, and I was able to pick up 2 of these films that I already had on DVD, so these will be upgrades. The first one here is Signs, starring Mel Gibson, as well as Joaquin Phoenix. And the next one here is probably the film that he's most known for, and probably his best film, in many people's opinion, and that is The Sixth Sense. I recently gave this a rewatch, and I, along with my friend Stephen Billings from the Film Club Central YouTube channel, did an episode on our podcast that was a spotlight on this movie. Please check out our podcast. I have an iTunes link in the description below, and the next 3 things I have here are all 4K UHD releases. First up here is actually one of my favorite films of 2018, a film that wasn't really positively received by many people, but I personally really loved it, and that is First Man, the latest film from Damien Chazelle, I thought this film was gorgeous and stunning at times. The musical score is just so emotionally resonant and just fantastic. And I'm a big sucker for anything to do with a space program or space in general. I also already did an individual review for this movie back on my channel when it came out, so please check out that as well. And next up here is a film that came out in 2017, and that is Steven Spielberg's The Post. And this is a film that I also did an individual review for on the channel when it came out. And this is a really solid, well-acted political drama set back in the early 1970s. And Steven Spielberg, I think, is a really solid, fantastic director. And next up, and finally here, is the new Halloween film. This is the film that erases everything to come after the original Halloween film by John Carpenter from the late 1970s and pick up the storyline right from there. And I really enjoyed this film for the most part. There were a few aspects of it that I had problems with, but I went into all of that in the review I did, so please check out that as well. If you are not someone who has the 4K capabilities at home yet, you don't really need to get this film in 4K. It has a very drab aesthetic, so the HDR and the 4K and the UHD capabilities really won't pump that up too much to make it look that much better than you will get in the regular 1080p HD Blu-ray edition. So that has been everything that I picked up in January of 2019. As I said, there weren't many things that I picked up in January. There weren't a lot of great new releases that came out in January. I can say that February is a much better release month this year, and there will be a lot more interesting things in the next haul video that I do for the following month. And as always, if there's something here that you want me to talk about more in-depthly, please let me know. I'll either do an individual video on it or talk to you in the comments below. And also, if you like this video, please check out the other videos on my channel.